Top of the hour. I want to welcome everyone here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for jumping on with us today. I'm Sherry Denny, one of your many corporate directors that you have here with APLGO. And you know, when I first heard about this amazing lady that we're going to have on here in just a few seconds, it was a thought. Everybody needs to know this lady. Everybody does. She's such a plethora of information that dedicates so much of her time to research and study. I think it's over 40 years of study and research. And these conversations that we've had with her, or interviews, whatever you want to call it, they have been a highlight of each and every one of our APLGO months from the beginning. So we're very honored to have her here and give us, her valuable time. Her name is Mary Esther Gilbert, and I love all these initials she has attached to her name: MSc, HN, BSc, NSP. She's a holistic nutrition physiologist, author, educator, founder, CEO of True Health Mastery Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management. And Mary Esther Gilbert has written several books, including the one that we value so much, and that is our book for APLGO, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. And, it's covering over 100 proven botanicals, complete cellular nourishment for optimizing your body's protective and regenerative capacity. That is a mouthful. There was a first edition, which kind of went out, and then we had this other one that she had to do, and, just to make it all compliant. But guess what, you guys? It is back. The first one's back. You can order it now. It's on Amazon. And so anyway, our conversation today is going to be on two of our amazing products. One of them, which actually I've had both of them today, but one I've kind of overloaded on. I love HPY. And there's a reason for that. And the other one is ALT. Now, we put together some questions. There's going to be about 5 questions on each product, and we're going to keep this to a minimum so that we can get through all this. But Mary Esther, I want to welcome you here. I know you're here somewhere. I see you on there.
I'm right next to you. Hi.
There you are.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody tonight? So good to see you all.
It is awesome to have you here tonight. And do you want to we're just going to go ahead and dive right in, because there's like 5 questions on each one, and I don't know how much time you're going to take on it, but could I keep each answer you give down to a 1-minute minimum?
Yes, I was so concerned about that. The only
I'm just kidding. There's no way that's going to happen. So
I can't shut up unless I harness myself and make sure I discipline myself to do that. Yes.
Well, I'm so used to fishing up here that every now and then you might catch me and I'll reel you in. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. If I tend to do that, I've been, working on it though.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. So anyway, we've got 5 great questions about HPY. By the way, did you want to mention anything else about yourself and, our great APLGO family?
Well, it's a long story that I've kind of summarized many times, and we've gone through it before and we've recorded it. My YouTube channel has, one segment about myself. Okay, this is who I am. All right, let's get on with it, kind of thing. So yeah, just go to my YouTube channel or look at the APLGO videos on my holisticchoices.com/APL page, and you'll see that. You'll see what I do. My website has it too, has an about page. So yeah, if anybody's
Wonderful.
curious.
And you know what? Anybody can just Google Mary Esther Gilbert, and oh my gosh, she's got pages. By the way, she comes right up at the top too. There's only one Mary Esther Gilbert that we're aware of, and she's got lots of stuff and information that you guys can get connected to. And I know you have received a lot of new clients just because of us doing this right here. And it is so valuable for everybody because you have the answers to things that we never knew even existed. So anyway, let's get on with asking questions about HPY. And you've got those questions there with you as well, right?
I sure do. And let me share my screen so you can see them with me.
Yes. Okay. So how does the accumulate assay technology in HPY enhance the absorption and effectiveness of its ingredients compared to traditional supplements?
Yes, it's about time that we really dive a little bit into this. And I don't know if it'll take 1 minute, but this is the longest question I answered. The rest will be very short. Relatively speaking, we will fit it in the time frame allotted. But
You
yeah,
go for it.
yeah, let's talk about the accumulate assay technology and how it works with the drop. So basically, from what I understand, it is a proprietary, kind of operation. We're not allowed to know the secrets entirely of what's going on, and I can understand that. It's a trade secret. So what they do is they simulate an electrical storm. And in these giant vats that you see here, that's where the plant materials are just put all together, and they call it the elixir because it has the molasses, and the plant materials are just being meshed together so that they can absorb each other's nutrient compounds, and they can interact with each other and form this synergistic kind of process. So the electrical storm, what that does, it adds even more electrons to the atomic orbitals of the molecules of these botanicals. And I'll show you what I mean pictorially in a few minutes. But that's basically what this technology is all about. There's no other supplement in the world that I have found so far, and I dig deep, that has these extra electrons that are viable and still active in the drops. So yeah, that is what is so unique about the drops. So anyhow, just gonna skim over what I've already written. I formulate this PDF so that people can go back and read, in depth about it. But when I have these calls, of course, I just skim over everything that I've written. So I don't even know why I bother half the time to write it down. But I do it for, everyone else's sake.
But we're glad that you do that because you just said it. We can always go back and look at this, and then it's written there in black and white. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Marianne.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Okay, so anyway, so it renders these botanical nutrients 100% utilizable in the body because of their electric charge. And so I'm going to go a little bit into the interaction and the interplay between the light energy, which the unit is called biophoton. So we have these light particles that we are made of, and all living things are composed of, and that's what perpetuates life. It's the light energy frequencies that drive these electrons and drive the enzyme actions that are the catalysts for every single body system and every single cellular action in the body. Okay, so anyway, the supplements generally, other supplements like tablets, they have an absorbability rate of about 10 to 50%. So the tablets are a lot less absorbable, right? And then there's the liquids and powders that are a little bit more absorbable, but depends on the manufacturing process and the type of nutrient. But this is what sets the drops apart. Okay, and also it has to contain whole foods, because if you have extracts of foods, you only have part of the molecule of these wonderful nutrient factors in these botanicals. So you're not getting the full benefit nor the absorbability factor. So it drives it way down. Our drops are not like that. Like live plant materials, okay, therefore the live plant materials in the drops are carefully harvested from seed to end production, and they're handled so carefully to preserve those active nutrients. So it has to, be maintained throughout the whole process, all the way down to when the drop is made. So so we've got this interdependency between the enzyme catalysts, which are driven by the negatively charged ions, which are driven by the photon units of light. Okay, so that is the difference. And if you want to explain that to someone, you've got to show them a little bit of this science. Otherwise, it won't make sense, and this is skimming the top. So anyway, most supplements are made into tablets and capsules and are not in whole food form. So, and depending on the production processes, they do not maintain that biophotonic or interactive light energy frequencies, and they're not negatively ionically charged, so they don't have the active enzymes. Okay, I hope everybody got those three things, because it's just like you're getting a crash course on how this works
That
at
was
this
a definite crash course. That's like
subatomic level.
fire hose. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead,
What's going on in our bodies? Okay. So anyhow, yeah. So I kind of repeat and summarize as I go along, but basically that's all that says there. So when we look at the cell membrane at the micro level, All these nutrients are circulating in the bloodstream, and the DNA directs everything to go where it's needed. And so when these nutrients arrive at our cell receptor sites, we have this membrane that has little channels, and these are the ion channels. If you want to have a negatively charged particle enter your body, it's got to go through the cell membrane. And so so that it can enter the inside of the cell. As you can see here, it says inside of the cell, and out here is outside of the cell. So they arrive and they are entered through these different membranes that are very, very distinctive. They're very particular about what gets inside the cell. But we've got this ion channels that sit there as well that allow this gradient, this negatively charged going toward a positive, and then when things leave the cell, it reverses. So we've got this polarity going on, this electrical polarity going on all the time in the body. And that's what makes the drops so unique. We can actually absorb these readily through these ion channels. And here's just another, summarization. I'm not going to read it all for you, but when you look at the document, you can skim it very quickly and see what you get a visual. Here's an actual electron micrograph of the biophotonic cell communication mechanisms. So we've got all these pulses and electrical charges going on, this light energy going on, enzyme actions are going on in the body. So it's really exciting. We are indeed light energy beings. Here's an actual electron micrograph of the biophotonic cell communication mechanism. I hear an echo.
Somehow or another, we are getting
Somebody
some
needs to
feedback
mute,
here.
please.
Can everybody make sure that you're muted, please?
I'll scroll down and
Alice,
see if I can find it.
Light energy going on.
Thank you.
Enzyme actions are going on.
We're getting a feedback.
It's not Alice.
Well, I just muted Alice, and that's where it was coming from.
Oh,
Anyway,
was it? Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, so here's another last little picture of what actually goes on at the atomic level. We've got these little photons that are never sitting still. At the atomic level, they're moving constantly. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to thrive and be alive. So these little emissions of light are jumping their orbitals. So once they jump and then they jump back, that creates a light particle. And that is the spark of life. That is the very thing that keeps everything going. And here's another simpler rendition of, like, say the botanical drops are all active, right? Ionically charged and enzyme active, light energy frequencies going on. So the SA accumulate process adds more electrons to the orbitals of these plant materials. So they're easily able to donate electrons to neutralize anything that doesn't belong in the body, any kind of stress reaction, inflammatory reaction, toxic chemical, all these things that do not belong in the body detects it does not belong there. It'll just donate an electron and neutralize it so the body can eliminate it more readily. So that's what an antioxidant does. These are great antioxidants. And every single plant that's in every single botanical, that's in every single drop, they have a tremendous antioxidant power.
Mary Esther Gilbert, I just learned something really cool here. I did not know that we had polarity in our cells and a pocket that those negative ions actually can go in and attach to. That is just amazing. I learn something new every time I talk to you. So the next question that we have, thank you so much for that. That was a great overall view of that question. So can you elaborate on the specific benefits of the combination that we have with ashwagandha and the chamomile in HPY, particularly regarding the stress management and promoting relaxation?
Okay, I'm pulling this out of the book real quick.
Okay.
So the ashwagandha has what are called cytoindocides and acetylsterol glucosides. They're the main classes of phytochemicals. Now, there's a lot of subclassifications of these classifications of phytonutrient compounds, and they're attributed to decreasing the sensitivity to stress. So they've been tested and they've been analyzed by scientists all over the world over time. So, of course, we've got these peer-reviewed studies that collect the best data, and this is what they've come up with. So these phytonutrient compounds are so important for so many biochemical processes in the body, and these particular ones address the sensitivity to stress. So when we react to stress, instead of producing the stress chemicals and creating a cascade effect of biochemical reactions, of inflammatory reactions, this puts a stop to it and calms everything down, allowing the person to stay calm and make better choices, right? Stay logical instead of going off the deep end and panicking about something. And it strengthens the immune system. The immune system is very, very closely involved with that kind of reaction. It monitors all these stress things that the body produces. So, so then it has also a GABA mimetic or cognition promoting effect, and that's supporting the new dendrites or neural pathway extensions of the nerve cells. So you've got these nerve cells, right? And they've got these little dendrites, little arm projections that are connecting to other cells. I didn't put a picture on it, so I'm gesticulating madly here. But so you get the picture. I'm sure most of you have seen the photographs that depict these dendrites on the nerve cells. So anyway, these will make the connections to help with memory deficit and any kind of neurodegenerative disease. So they're repairing the coating of the outside of the nerve cells. So the chamomile, it's kind of similar, all these studies they've concluded that it helps for general anxiety. It relaxes the nervous system. It acts as a mild sedative, but it doesn't put you to sleep. Unless you're tired, you're going to go to sleep anyway, but it's not a drug that will turn you off and not allow you to operate, machinery or something, that kind of warning. So it's useful for insomnia because it just calms things down, just to relax instead of these stress chemicals, just making you hyper and worried about things. It just calms everything down. So it contains a specific amino acid, glycine, and that has nerve relaxing effects also. And it also helps relieve the menstrual cramps in women. So it stimulates the immune system. It's better able to react to these inflammatory reactions in response to stress. It actually has 120 metabolites, secondary metabolites. So these metabolites act on their own. They help neutralize free radicals, and they do a lot of things to protect the nervous system and the immune system, and they address all sorts of other different kinds of systems in the body. So they actually assist the immune system, assist the nervous system, and assist the hormone regulating monitoring process. And so it also includes 36 flavonoids and 28 terpenoids. And so if you have my book, you can look up in the database what these phytonutrients actually do in the body. They're also, compounds in the chamomile also are antimicrobial, anti-gastrointestinal properties, maintaining the gut-brain communication against stress. So generally antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, working against these free radicals.
Wow. You know what? There is so much there's a lot more ingredients in the HPY than what we're saying here, but those two seem to be in particular causing a lot of really good reactions within the body. So how about we go on to the next one? Besides promoting calm and relaxation, what are the long-term benefits of regularly consuming HPY? Now, I know one of the really good reasons for doing it, and it's really helped me last year come out of a major depression. But man, I'm telling you, up here where it is dark 24/7 for months on end, and we need that sunlight, hey, it took me till January, the end of January, to figure it out, but I had HPY available, started taking it, and it was within a couple weeks that I started feeling that happiness again. It didn't matter if the sun wasn't out. So what other things promote the calmness and relaxation with HPY?
It's a great story because we are electrically charged, and these drops are little drops of sunshine. They provide a little bit of that biophotonic energy to elevate the whole body system, the biochemicals that are produced when we're in sunlight. So thank goodness for HPY. So anyway, so we have these botanical nutrient factors in Happy that have been shown to help the immune system. They're antimicrobial, all sorts of different kinds of microbes that make people ill. And they actually have compounds that help strengthen the blood vessels, because remember, we're very biocompatible with plants. Our DNA is very familiar with plant DNA, and it borrows, gene sequences that our DNA detects that it needs. So if it's going to repair anything, then it's going to select whatever gene sequences it might need from any botanical. So in other words, in this particular drop, you've got strengthening of the blood vessels and building blood volume. Usually it takes, dietary measures, exercise, and all sorts of other things. But these phytonutrients are great for starting someone out to get their health up to the point where they can live a healthier lifestyle, but it actually helps build blood volume, and that's a very good thing. Supporting the nerves, brain, muscle, and joint movement, so you can just enjoy your life more. You're able to be more mobile without any pain or without any kind of limitations. And then it also helps improve the digestive tract, the tissues. It repairs the tissues in there and improves all the functions that it does. And then it's also important for fat metabolism. The bile flow in the liver is very important. You cannot digest fats without that bile flow. And improving kidney function, the process under which the kidneys go is a great filtration process. So if you drink a lot of water and you take the HPY, then you'll have better functioning cells in the kidneys, and then also in the intestines. And then it assists the cell organelle mitochondria, so it's helping you convert nutrients into energy.
You know, I'm watching all these things or listening to all that you're saying, and I keep taking myself back to using HPY every single day in the morning and at night. Now, this is just me, you guys. You know, there's only 30 in a box, but to me, I go through 2 boxes in a month. But it's so important. I didn't realize it was doing all this other stuff besides making me smile a lot. See, Esther, that's where you're getting the smiling from all the time. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on to number 4. So if y'all want to be happy, get some HPY, okay, you guys? And there's a great special going on with it right now, too. So are there any known contradictions, so say that word, or potential interactions, let's just put it that way, between HPY and common medications or pre-existing health conditions? I know a lot of us already know the answer to that, but I always love it when you spell it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've said this word so many times. It's contraindications,
Thank you
so it's
so
like
much.
opposing. It's opposing any indication, right? So contra. Okay, so anyhow, so the National Library of Medicine's Medline Plus database, it lists all the prescription drugs and any supplement you might be taking. So it also will tell you if there are any nutrient drug interactions or food drug interactions on this particular page. I'm just going to show you very, very quickly. I know we're pressed for time, but this is what it looks like. Okay, it's a Medline Plus. There are other Medline listings if you do a search on Medline, but it's the Medline Plus, and this is the page that takes you to the drugs, herbs, and supplements. So you can look up any herb or supplement, that you want, and it'll be in here. And you can also look at the drugs that you might be taking, and it'll tell you automatically if there are any contraindications for that. Just wanted to make sure you guys saw that. Okay, so I mean, like I said, you can search on any possible drug nutrient interactions. Every single drug is listed there. I've never not been able to find any drug that someone might be taking just to see what their side effects are. A lot of times people's health issues are because of the drug side effects, so I want to make them aware of that. So, there's lists of various websites too that show you which foods or nutrients affect certain medications. And then you can just be more informed and discuss this information with your doctor instead of going in blind and feeling, intimidated because they sound very authoritative, right? They give you all these terms, and it's just a whole atmosphere that is conducive to you doing what they want you to do. So, I mean, it's set up that way. But anyhow, if you're more informed, you have the wherewithal to have a better discussion with your doctor. And if you point out, certain things to them, then they'll agree with you most of the time. So anyhow, you can also perform a different search in your browser on specific drug, nutrient, food interactions, and that'll turn up a lot also. And you'll be able to find these peer-reviewed scientific studies that your doctor may not even know about, and you can always print them out or show them to your doctor. They need to know, they've got enough on their plate, and they've got enough of their own education and their own experience, but it's a lot of the nutrient factors are missing in their patients' health issues. That's been my professional experience over the years. So if no contraindications are found, then sensible dietary considerations, to make sure you're properly nourishing your cells, and that's likely warranted, and that's under the guidance of a qualified nutritionist. Yeah, there's a lot to know about nutritionists and dietitians, but that's beyond the scope of this call. But I would be glad to answer that question either in another video or somehow. Okay. But anyhow, just trying to summarize everything here. But yeah, it
You did great.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah, basically just nourish yourself and you won't have to worry about it, you know.
Yeah. And I like that. No contraindications. I like it. I got it. And
Good.
you know what? I had this question asked me the other day. What is the recommended dosage of HPY and how often should it be consumed to experience the optimal benefits? Can I tell you my answer for that one? As much
Yes,
as
go
you
right
need.
ahead.
As much
Yeah.
as you need. You can't overdose on that one. Anyway, go ahead, Mary Esther.
Okay. So yeah, this is going to be, I had to summarize this because, oh my gosh, it's a dangerous question, really.
It
We have to
is,
be
yeah.
careful here, you know. So the drops are whole food micro complexes. They're not isolated nutrients like you would find in a tablet or powder or liquid supplement. Um, and so you should not think of it in terms of, you know, what dosages are safe because you can't go wrong with nutrients. That's exactly what our cells are desperately searching for in order to make the repairs and the growth and regeneration of our cells all the time. We need nutrients. Drugs are not nutrients. They do different things. So that's the first thing. We can't think of them in terms of, you know, is it safe to take? Well, of course it is. It's food, you know. If you were to eat all of the botanicals that are in the drops, it would just nourish you too, right? They're just food. So so that's the first thing I wanted to tell you about. And of course, when you look at a vitamin mineral supplement bottle, they're always listed in milligrams or micrograms, depending on which nutrient you're looking at. But those are still very, very large doses. And as I stated earlier, these kinds of supplements are either anywhere from 10 to 50% absorbable because they're not in the right electron, energy frequency, biophotonic configuration. They have been processed, many times heat processed, so all that energy is gone. Okay, so they're available to a certain point, but your body has to make up for the rest of it. You know, where's the enzyme that it needs to absorb this particular partitioned vitamin or elemental mineral that just is not available to the cells. So the drops are basically functional foods. Nutraceuticals is another name for them, and the body can safely utilize them. You know, they're unaltered, they're active, and our cell membranes, as you saw in the earlier depiction, they're completely absorbable and readily allowed into the microcell environment. They don't cause inflammatory reactions. They don't throw the body into a panic at all. That's exactly what the body needs. So they're already in the right form, the biologically correct form. And of course, we all know that these microphytonutrients, they have a great range of health benefits, you know. And of course, that's all been proven through scientific research for many, many years. And then the supplements containing massive amounts of synthetic vitamins and certain forms of elemental minerals are not very utilizable. Okay, I already said that. See, I get ahead of myself, but this is for the benefit of those who haven't seen the call and want to read the document.
Right.
Okay. Alrighty. So then, since the drops are biocompatible, you know, the plant chemical molecules are 100% assimilated. I already said that. And circulated throughout the body, delivered to various system sites. Yes, that's already been said. So one should not be wary of the very nutrients the body needs to restore and maintain all of its cellular processes and keep perpetuating the aliveness and the wellness.
So all this is amazing and good information, and HPY is one of my most favorite. They're all favorites of mine, but that one I make sure I have that twice a day, and that's just me, you guys. Now you see there in the green, I did have a question asked from somebody in the organization. Cleve Miller heard it may be good for prostate issues. I think you mentioned this once before. Yes, no?
Well, you know, we
Here we
skirt the
go.
issue, but basically, we're talking about hormones, and hormones can get pretty dysregular and dysfunctional if the wrong fats are eaten and you're not taking in the right nutrient factors in the wide variety of foods in the plant kingdom, and also the quality proteins, animal-derived proteins, the right types of plant fats. So all of that has to come together in order for the body to produce the right hormones. And so this has to do, of course, with the glandular system. You know, what types of hormones is the prostate producing? So and the only way to fix that is to make sure that those cells are receiving the right information, meaning the DNA information and the phytonutrient compounds that are so compatible with, you know, that part of the body. So yeah, it's just producing the right hormones, you know, and the body will regulate itself once those nutrient factors are all there. And then, of course, with all these nutritional imbalances, you know, all these nutrient deficiencies and consuming the wrong distorted molecules. I call them distorted because when you heat processed foods, especially at super high temperatures, the original molecules are rendered completely useless and completely foreign to the body. So the body has to try to deal with it, either, you know, try to break those Franken molecules apart. You know, chemically altered foods and heat altered foods are the main culprits for just about every single health ailment, and exposure to toxic synthetic chemicals, because those synthetic chemicals are similar to the processed foods, the heat altered foods. So, you know, it's not what the glandular system is looking for. It's going to try to utilize them, but it's going to reject them. It's going to create this inflammatory response, and the hormones are not going to be nourished properly, you know, or the glands that produce the hormones. So Happy has banana, and that's also a happy, what I call a happy fruit, because of the different compounds. And those have been found to prevent prostate cancer. And so those are the catecholamines, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, tryptophan, indole compounds, and pectin. I'm sure you've heard all of these terms before, but yeah, I'm always just so surprised at all of the nutrient factors that are in everyday foods. You know, you look at a banana and it sounds good, you eat it, you don't know all the work it's doing and all the benefit you have in the body. And Happy has turmeric. Now, this is what I consider the superfood of superfoods. And there's all this, so much evidence, so much science behind this, and its sister root, ginger. But we're not talking about ginger at the moment. So overwhelming evidence shows that the biochemicals can altogether prevent cancer. They block certain enzymes that are needed for cancer cells to grow. And so the conclusions that all of these researchers all over the world over many years, they found that there was not any type of cancer cell that turmeric did not work upon. And that included colon, mammary, prostate, liver cancer, esophageal, and other oral cancers. So, you know, we're not making medical claims here. This is quoting the irrefutable peer-reviewed science from all over the world.
You know, this is just amazing. And no, we're not making any medical claims here, but we do know we have absolutely an incredible plethora of lozenges in our hands, ready to give out to other people. So that is amazing about HPY. Now, let's go on to ALT, which couldn't be a better time to bring this up, because I think spring has sprung just about everywhere else in, as we call it, the lower 48. However, the pussy willows are starting to bloom here, and I also see the aspen trees and the cottonwoods are getting ready to pop. And yeah, it's a early spring up here for us. But I can already feel it when I walk. I'm fine in the house, but as soon as I walk outside, my eyes start to tear, and I take an ALT and boom, within like 5 minutes, it's gone. It's just amazing what this drop can do. So how does the combination of ingredients in ALT specifically help to support the normal, healthy upper respiratory function?
Yes. When a person goes outdoors and they inhale all those particles, they're starting to, you know, wake up and fly around. The respiratory system often, the immune system actually is the culprit, not being able to recognize whether the body should react in panic or not. So when it does react, then the body produces this inflammatory enzyme called the cyclooxygenase 2. And so many botanicals, you know, I have found over the years do have this anti-inflammatory, anti-cyclooxygenase 2 effect. So it will help the immune system recognize what it should and should not react to. That's the first thing. It makes the immune system smarter. It goes into the DNA and corrects whatever is malfunctioning there, so the immune cells function better. So This allergic asthma is characterized by the infiltration and accumulation of the lymphocytes that are produced in the bone marrow and the eosinophil immune cells in the lung. So altogether, these different types of white blood cells start activating, right? But the black currant contains the anthocyanins and all these different polyphenolic compounds to reduce these eosinophilic accumulations and reduce the inflammation in the airway passages. So that's one great thing about black currant. There are many great things about each botanical, but as applies to this question. So then we've got the phytonutrient compounds in skullcap root. And we've got a bunch of flavones that have antibacterial, antiviral actions. So, all these different phytonutrients here, as you can see, have been shown to strongly inhibit inflammation as well. And it also, the wilgonin in skullcap inhibits the COX-2 also. So the body has to recognize when to stop reacting to inflammation. Inflammation can be a good thing if it's trying to eliminate something that doesn't belong in the body, or it's trying to repair tissues. But in this case, it's the COX-2 that just runs rampant sometimes, and other inflammatory enzymes as well in the body. So the bicalin and bicalin bind to and limit production of inflammatory proteins like cytokines, all these other proteins the body produces under stress.
You know what I thought was really interesting? This next question that I'm going to ask you, you pretty much already answered it. Can you elaborate on the mechanism by which ALT enhances the body's natural defenses against environmental irritants? I think you already did that, particularly concerning the role of the accumulate assay technology. We are so lucky to have that.
Well, it's a different angle. Let's go over it.
Okay.
Let's talk about the mangosteen in this formulation, because I've studied mangosteen for 30 years, and it is phenomenal all by itself. I used to have, offer this to my clients, and that alone alleviated most of their health issues. So it has very unique compounds called xanthones, a whole classification called xanthones. And so they've got so many, there's so much science that goes back to over 100 years. So it's been studied extensively in Asia, especially. So anyway, it's the strongest antioxidant, and these biochemicals, the xanthones, and these are secondary metabolites. They'll act on their own. They go in the body, and they just go through and repair things, and they regulate things, and they protect against any kind of free radical cell damage. And so they're anti-allergic or antihistaminic. Your body produces histamine, which is something that it produces when there's an irritant in the respiratory system. And then we've got secondary metabolites in the plants that are great for immune protection, and very effective as antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, antimicrobial. It's a very powerful antimicrobial. It also dissolves, from my experience, and which verifies the science, mangosteen can dissolve kidney stones. I'm just putting it out there. That's my experience with clients, and also the science is very strong on that, verifying that. So a living enzyme active, light energy frequency active botanical is so many more times more beneficial than one that's been heat processed. I already said that. But we've got to be driven by these sparks of life called enzyme catalysts and the energy of light, right? So this is just a depiction of the old-fashioned Kirlian photography. The new technology is biophotonics, and so it's pretty similar to what the old technology says, but these pictures are so much fun to look at, because you've got the energy frequencies of actually organic foods versus non-organic foods, and you can see the difference between this mushroom and the conventional mushroom. The light has dimmed, the life force has dimmed, and we've got broccoli here, and non-organically grown broccoli. I mean, the nutrient compounds in the living soils have these electrical charges too, because they have living organisms that contribute to the health of the soil and to help the plant absorb nutrients so much more efficiently. And so, it's look at this tomato, it's just amazing. And of course, the body has an energy field.
Those are significant changes in those images. Wow.
Yeah, and if you cook these foods, then the light goes out completely. Your body has to come up with the enzyme. It has to move it through the body and try to extract whatever nutrients are left. So it's like, you know, it's barely breaking even as far as nourishing your body. So that's why raw foods are so important. Juicing if you're having digestive issues, kind of thing. So, you know, we can't function without these enzymes because they're driven by the light energy frequencies, as you can see here. And then the new technology in the field of biophysics, known as the biophotonic spectroscopy, is used to detect different aspects of the food quality and the quantity. So these techniques are used in the food industry, you know, and they show how light energy active foods are. And so, yeah, we all are living organisms, whether we're a food or whether we're a, you know, human being or an animal. We emit these electromagnetic radiation in the form of biophotons or units of light. So here's a nice fun quote for you. There are, and this is my hero, Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. When I discovered him 30 years ago, I just like ate everything up that he taught. So he says there are about 100,000 chemical reactions happening in every cell each second. The chemical reaction can only happen if the molecule which is reacting is excited by a photon. Once the photon has excited a reaction, it returns to the field and is available for more reactions. That's that image that I showed you where the electron jumps off its orbit and back again. This is what he's talking about. So he said we are swimming in an ocean of light. So it permeates us, we are it, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, and that's one thing well, many things that I like about our drops is they are light energy. And the first time I heard you say that, I was like, oh, we're on the same page. This is just amazing. Now, I do love what Lori Flynn just wrote in the chat box there. My brother has had issues with kidney stones for decades, and ALT has completely changed his life. I'm going to let my daughter know about that one. She's been dealing with it for a while here now. Okay. Yeah. So that again, so much information, and we've got some time here for a couple more questions. So many of the ingredients in ALT are known for their antioxidant properties, which you stated. How do these antioxidants contribute to promoting vitality and overall well-being? Like you can read it right off there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, these plant compounds, they're strong antimicrobials. They'll go through and they'll destroy everything that dares enter our bodies, dares to try to invade it. You can nip them in the bud within hours. And because there are still, you know, little residual populations left, they'll continue to grow. That's why you have to hit it every day for a few days to make sure you kill off all the populations. And that really helps the immune system. Otherwise, it would take a lot longer. You'd be a lot sicker. You know, the symptoms would be much more severe. But even food poisoning, you know, I've knocked that out in just a few hours and continued on with my life. You're like, oh, stupid restaurant, you know, they didn't watch their food temperatures. But, you know, it happens once in a while. And so you always have something that you can reach to take care of it immediately. So these secondary metabolites are not involved in plant growth or development or production. They do all these things for the plant and for our bodies. They protect our body systems against the oxidative or free radical damage that can lead to all these different diseases. So a lot, I would say, like one of my favorite people, Linus Pauling, he always said that 99% of health issues is due to nutrient deficiencies. So it's been my experience also that anytime someone comes to me with various ailments, A through Z, you know, you correct the diet, you take out the toxicity, you make sure they're not, you know, exposed to any synthetic chemicals, take them all out of their home and all exposures, and then you put them on the nutrient-dense diet and supplements. I wish I'd had drops back then. That would have been so much more fun. But to watch people's health transform, I mean, to watch people's health go back to, you know, to normal was the most rewarding thing. And I'm sure all of you out there who are sharing the drops are seeing this yourselves. So yeah, they help regulate all these different body processes, you know, transform one form of biochemical to the other. The body's so great about making new molecules out of something that it already has, you know, so it's repurposing and redistributing and reusing a lot of these nutrient factors that circulate long enough in the body. So detoxification, you know, all of these synthetics, it'll just bind to the molecules of these toxins, allowing you to neutralize them as free radicals and eliminate them out of the body. And so you've got these preventing these invasive inflammatory effects of all these microbials that make us sick. And then the immune system can produce the biochemicals also that destroyed the microbials. So the immune system is given a boost, you know, and the digestive system too. it guards against all these intestinal breakdowns and diseases and inflammatory reactions. It'll protect the blood vessel walls, protect the cells, against damage, so that you're building nice, strong, flexible structures in our cells. And it improves the blood and lymph vessel circulation. Both circulatory systems help clear out old cells that we don't need anymore, and all these foreign things that don't belong in the body. It improves digestion, and like I said earlier, it stimulates the bile flow from the liver. So, these compounds in the ALT are great for this and more.
And you know what? There's other things that people have been asking a lot for individuals that are sensitive to certain plants. Are there any potential allergens or contraindications to be aware of within those ingredients in the list of ALT?
Oh, wow. Okay, so
That's a biggie. Yeah.
I just love these questions. Okay, so according to the medical literature, when you're testing for allergens, it's really difficult even for the medical profession to pinpoint exactly what's causing that. So over time, they've collected, all of these, all this data, and they can comfortably say, well, there's probably any one of these things right on their list. So they go through these tests that somehow, will detect exactly what that is. So it's pretty great. I'd love to see how they do that. But anyway, so there's cautions about safety for botanical supplements that refer to capsules or tablets. And so, like I said earlier, they have large doses that are measured in grams. And although there haven't been any adverse effects reported in taking botanical supplements for up to several months, beyond that, if they're taking massive doses over time, there's going to be some side effects. It's going to have a drug-like effect, and the body's not going to have much more choice but to try to process this and try to get through this as soon as possible and try to eliminate the excess or, whatever it's disrupting all the different systems in the body as it's, that's just what happens. Too much of a good thing is a true statement. So let's take an example. Let's take astragalus. You can find an astragalus supplement out there on the internet, at 60 milligrams of a 60 milligram capsule. And so that's going to equal about 2.12 ounces. That's a lot of nutrients to apply. And the body will process it. You can finish off a bottle of maybe 60 or 120, of these capsules, and it should be fine. But if you're taking massive doses of this, then it's going to have that kind of effect, So relatively large doses of the botanicals are what the medical-based websites refer to as precautionary measures. So in the example of astragalus, the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health states that a supplement with such doses may be safe, quote, may be safe when used orally and appropriately, and, quote, may interact with medication that suppress the immune system. Okay, so I'm going to read this through and then I'm going to make a comment. Contrastingly, the overwhelming amount of scientific literature reporting the studying and applying of the astragalus plant in clinical studies describes astragalus as a promising functional botanical shown to have wide health promoting effects. So what they conclude is what is likely due to the synergistic balance of its highly beneficial phytochemical compounds. The scientific literature does not indicate any side effects. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is in all the years that I've done research on botanicals, looking up drug-nutrient interactions, the real science, the peer-reviewed, legitimate scientific research, not bought by any corporation or not influenced by any political, agenda, it's going to have food is very, very safe. The only problem of like if you're on statin drugs or blood thinners, so-called blood thinners, which is a misnomer. If you're on those drugs, then the caution is to not eat or drink gosh, I can't think of the fruit, the grapefruit. So, but the research that I came across about that was that 1 glass a day of fresh enzyme active grapefruit juice would not interfere with that drug. And I wish I could find that somewhere in my archives. There's the article and the scientific reference that I used. I was in college when I found this out. And so I was shocked. That was the only time through the years that I found that there was any kind of contraindication on a food and a drug interaction. What happens is the food is the preferred molecule at the cell receptor sites. and it seems to override any kind of drug effect influence that it might have on your cell site membranes. So that being very careful what I'm saying here, I'm just quoting what the science is and what I found and what my experience has been. So I don't see how the drops would have that kind of effect because they're not massive doses and they're not one botanical. There are synergistic counterbalances built into even one individual botanical, by the way. But when you have them in synergy like this, they're anti-inflammatory, right? They help the immune system. They help the hormonal system, the nervous system. So all of these processes are going on to make sure the body stays in equilibrium or balance. So botanical fact sheets that are published by the government, they list all these precautions, you know, and but there's a few that are missing on that site. If you go to the botanical supplements list at that website, then you're going to find it's written for the layperson. So there's going to be, you know, is it safe? And, you know, if I'm taking certain drugs, what are the nutrient drug interactions? They'll list all that for each individual botanical, but it's not a complete database. I found that in our formula alone, what are we talking about here? ALT, yeah. In the ALT, it's still missing the black currant and the eucalyptus and the grapeseed. It's not listed on that list, but all the other botanicals that are in the ALT are. So it's not quite, you know, complete. And there's a lot of things to be desired about that website that
and those are
can't go
three
into.
important ingredients. Those are three very important ingredients.
Yeah, there's no information on that website as far as drug nutrient interactions. Yeah. And when you look at the science, however, you know, by contrast, there is tons, literally hundreds of scientific journals and thousands of scientists who have studied these botanicals and found, you know, their health benefits. And not one of them I did this research, you know, just the other day, not one of them has any contraindications for drug nutrient interactions. Mm-hmm. So, you know, 99.9% of the time, it's been my experience that it's not going to be a problem. They're whole foods. They're not drugs, and they're not going to have the inflammatory effects. They help the immune system, you know. So yeah, they're microdoses, right? They're microdoses that are already in the size of the molecule that is allowed inside the cell membrane. We have to digest foods, reduce them down to that level in order to let them be allowed inside of our cells. You know, our cells are, you know, tiny. So yeah.
Exactly. And we're so fortunate here that ours is, these ingredients are all plant DNA. And, you know, I bring that up anytime that anybody asks the question. I actually let them know, you know, how they're put together with plant DNA. That's so important. And, you know, I think we've already answered this throughout this whole conversation, is beyond supporting the normal breathing and immune responses. Are there any other, oh, I love this, what you're bringing up here. Are there any other potential health benefits associated with the regular consumption of ALT? I've noticed several, and I like the one about the kidney stones. Anyway, if you could, any effects of any of these other ingredients on it for us?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can look at all the other body systems.
I love this.
You know, besides the immune system and the respiratory system. So this is just a small snippet taken out of the book. But basically, you know, your body fluids, your liver, your intestines, you know, all the stress chemicals the body produces, and helping your body produce its own antioxidant enzyme, which is called the superoxide dismutase, the SOD. So that's an excellent thing the body's able to make on a regular basis. And your adrenal glands in response to stress and circulation, you know, just making sure everything is circulating right. And eliminated, you know, all these other things that don't belong there are eliminated. Black currant, all these polyphenols, you know, cognitive performance, the nervous system, slowing down aging because it's an anti-inflammatory, and it protects against these oxidative reactions that occur normally. You know, when you have a piece of fruit, its oxidation will turn the fruit ripe, and then eventually break down the fruit. It'll get moldy, and the bacteria will take over, and eventually it'll be gone. Especially if you throw it on the ground, it's going to disappear. But that's the oxidative process. So the aging process is an oxidative process, but we can put a stop to it or slow it down tremendously with all of these antioxidant foods that are in the drops. intestinal environment, which is very important to communicate with the brain, the gut-brain, highway, and the eucalyptus, anti-inflammatory, reducing fevers, antimicrobial, the ginger root. If you ever have any stomach issues, ginger is an excellent thing to take. All these amino acids that are important for all the proteins the body produces, great for the skin, hair, nails. We can just go on and look at all these different body systems that these botanicals also address. They're so pan-systemic. And so the grapeseed, red blood cells, controlling cholesterol, strengthening the blood vessels, and nourishing the nervous system, preventing all these neurodegenerative problems. Green tea is also one of my favorite because it's great for digestion. That's my experience. And of course, the science will say that, but it's got the catechins, antioxidants. They're more potent than vitamin C and E. We need those nutrients, but it's actually more potent than those two nutrients, balancing blood pressure, detox the heavy metals, protecting the plaques preventing the plaques that can harden in the arteries when a person is under stress or consuming the wrong molecules in their foods, reduces the risk of metabolic syndrome, which is associated with all these different diseases, heart disease and obesity and all these other digestive issues and cancer and all these other things that are a danger to a lot of people out there. Licorice root, it's got all these flavonoids, inhibitory effects on diabetes, and the mangosteen, of course, we talked about that. The rowan berry, again, it inhibits the reactive oxygen species, ROS, and the skullcap root, anti-dysentery. I love that. Blood pressure, used against internal bleeding, anti-cancer, anti-convulsant, protecting the liver and protecting the nerves.
Wow. You know what? We have another call coming up here in about 4 minutes, but you know what, you guys? I gotta thank you for this. And there's a testimonial there from Clea Miller. He says he gives it to his cat. She sneezes from feline herpes, but air he's talking about air helps minimize her attacks. We're talking about ALT. But anyway, if you guys thought that ALT was just for seasonal allergies, oh, contraire, right? So all those things that you listed there. And I want Mary Esther, if you would go ahead and just let people know where they can go to get references about you, your book, everything that you do. I think you're showing it up on the screen right now. Much appreciated. I thank you so much.
Yeah, this is the second edition of the APLGO. It has all the new drops except for the LFT, because that came after the book was published, but I can include that. I also sent a copy of that to Esther, so she has a copy of the LFT, but also it's on the the Holistic Choices website. If you go to holisticchoices.com/APL, then you'll see the link to order the book, and also to see all the PDFs that we do on this call, including this one, and the videos that we always do on this call. Okay.
Thank you so very much, Mary Esther. And you know what? I'll be seeing you next week.
Yay! Really? I'll be staying for the call, so I'll be hanging out here for you guys with you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I want to see everybody at our 5th anniversary extravaganza, our celebration, because this is like when things really start getting exciting. If you haven't been excited yet, you're going to be excited there. So everybody, make sure you got those tickets. And thank you so much, everybody, for coming on here tonight. It's always a pleasure to see you, Mary Esther Gilbert, and see all the people that are on here. Ruth, it's always nice to see you. Debbie, oh my gosh, Pamela, Julia, yay. And we've got another call coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So actually on the same channel.
Yeah, so you could stay here, just stop the recording and.
Yeah, just stop the recording. Everybody go take a potty break and come back. You got it.